Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today in another Fired Up Friday. And look here, we have a great guest with us that we hope will be a more regular part of the conversation on Fired Up Friday. Myron Clifton. I know a lot of you are familiar with him. And of course, Candidly Tiff. So I want to give both of them an opportunity
Hey,
just to say hello.
hello, happy Friday Friday.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
And we're just going to kind of dig right in. Like, at the top of my list, really, and I know this is kind of Tiff's alley, um, the elections, because we got a lot going on. And this is
Um,
what we are counting on really to save our democracy. As messed up as it is, we still need one to be able to get the things that any of us want. And there's been a lot of course, attention and activity around the Texas elections. And it has certainly captured my attention. While I can't vote there, I do have relatives there, and it matters to me.
mm,
And what is going on. So I'm going to go with Tiff first, just to give me some feedback, and then Myron, I'll let you chime in, and I'll give my opinion on what I've been seeing.
Let me just breathe before I, because I think we are
Let you get it out.
in the same place with this race. It is driving me insane. And it's been a long, like, I don't know, 70 something days since Jasmine jumped in the race on December 8th of 2025. And we have gone from the day that she announced to now has been a constant, like, just negative campaign against her. And honestly, I wouldn't say a word about this race if I didn't see her getting attacked, because I think we all are on the same page when it comes to Black women and women in particular. If we start seeing one of them being attacked, we are going to defend them. That's just we've seen this before, whether it was Hillary, whether it was
yeah.
Kamala. There have been other women, that have run in races, Chantel Brown, where we have seen these people try to, degrade them basically, and
Yeah.
and and
And minimize their
minimize that's the
qualifications.
right word, like minimize their abilities, their accomplishments, their experience, and their electability, right? So we've seen this show before, and that is the whole reason why the K Hive was started. But that I want to make this clear: the K Hive was specific to Kamala.
Right.
That was about us defending Kamala. When Kamala is not
Right.
running, the K Hive is dormant. Okay, it is a
Right.
dormant thing. There are people from all spectrums that are involved in talking about this race, especially out of town people like myself and Myron, who are seeing the writing on the wall in terms of what they're doing. And there are fair criticisms of Jasmine. There are fair criticisms of Talarico. But if you say anything about Talarico, those people lose their damn mind. If you say something about Jasmine and it's fair, I will agree. The fact that she doesn't have a campaign manager is weird. The fact that she hasn't put a lot of ads on is weird in a way. I mean, she has digital, but she's not spending as much. Is that a smart strategy? We won't know until March 3rd, right? We won't know until the votes come in. So she's also juggling two jobs, whereas James Talarico only has one because they're not in session. So,
Right.
there's different dynamics about this race that I feel like people are overlooking, and it's just exhausting. But we can get into it more. I would love to hear what Myron has to say because I know he has thoughts on this too.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you know what? Thanks, Tiff. And it's interesting. You talked about Jasmine having two jobs, and if that's not typical of women of color, right?
Where we
She just
live.
she working twice as hard. You know what? I made a video about this today. I looked at it at a higher level because I'm seeing what you're seeing, that Talrico has his attack dogs out there, he has his bots out there, and he's running negative ads. He's doing all those things and pretending that he's not. And the attacks on Jasmine Crockett. And I had a video just today where it made me think about the insidiousness of patriarchal thinking and systemic racism and Miss Anur, just the whole deal, because she's being told you can't do this, you can't win, and or a black woman can't win in Texas. And I just think back to I have an uncle who's a retired professor, and when he was entertaining all his college offers, out of East Oakland, he had a bunch of offers before he graduated, and his high school counselor told him, "You won't succeed in college. You need to go be a bricklayer, like very specifically, a bricklayer." And he's now a retired professor. He taught all over the world. And that mentality of always telling us we can't do something. And if we had listened to that, we would never have been a mayor, a city council person, a representative, a state legislator, nothing. Like a firefighter, a cop, a doctor, nothing. Because we are always told by that system we can't do something. And so I just concluded by, look, she can win. And if she doesn't win, then send 10 more Jasmine Crockett's, right? If she runs and Kamala doesn't win in 2028, if she decides to run and she doesn't win, send 10 more. Like that's what white people have done for 400 years in this country. You just keep doing it. And they even have a saying that they apply to themselves, not to us. If at first you don't succeed, try again. But they tell us, don't even try. And I'm telling you, I'm burned out on that mentality.
No,
And so much of it coming from the left.
But yeah, but when you think about it, to your point, Myron, we just saw Reverend Jesse Jackson pass away this week.
Yes.
When you think about it, there was Shirley Chisholm, and she tried, and she did not obviously become president. But then you had Jesse Jackson, who got much further than Shirley Chisholm.
That's
then
right.
You had Barack Obama. So sometimes these things take a lot of time to get to. And when we think about just senators, like just use the Senate, for example, Kamala was the second, only the second.
Isn't that wild? Like we're celebrating 250 years and we just had the second.
That's crazy.
And we worked really hard to get the third and the fourth, which are the only two that are there now, which were to be elected. Obviously, Butler was there, but she was appointed. But there are two Black women in the Senate because we worked our ass off to get them there. And the same thing would have to happen if Jasmine was to be the nominee, right? People would have to work really hard. But you have to give the person the ability to try, because if you don't try, you're never going to succeed.
And that part right there, and you both have hit on some great points. Again, as you said, that's what I was thinking about, the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson and that whole civil rights movement that he was involved in, and how they were working toward things for us that we had already been given by law, but we weren't able to actually practice them. So they had to have this additional fight and push to make it be accepted and honored in real life, like voting. And we see these attacks. All of these things are really a ripping away of all those things that people like Reverend Jackson and John Lewis and others help us to fight for. And I think that is something that is missed a lot of times on these young progressives or young people involved, like they're demanding things and they want it right now. And I'm trying to thread this, but the other thing that I see is that you talked about how few representatives we have had in Congress. And right now we have a very, very qualified Black woman running, but they are still trying to talk about her electability.
Right. And her qualifications.
Right. When actually, as you said, she has two jobs that she's working. And I have been listening to these influencers and people talk about it. And while some of them don't actually bash her, it's like they ignore her. Like they want to act like she doesn't exist. Like I literally heard some one saying, you know, talking about we need fighters. And then they proceeded to name all of the fighters. They said, literally, I'm quoting, the fighters are on the Judiciary Committee. Okay.
Mm,
And they started naming them. You know who they didn't name?
mm,
Jasmine Crockett, who is
terrible.
on the judiciary. It's like you want to erase us and act like we're not here, you
Right.
know, and it's so infuriating. And as a Black woman, you know, especially born in, you know, the Jim Crow era, you know, a direct recipient of some of those fights, it's so infuriating. And when you call them out on it, they want to act like, what? No, it's not about racism. No, it's not
Right.
misogyny or whatever. It's like, okay, don't tell me, you know, don't, what is that saying? Don't piss on me and tell me it's
Yeah.
raining. Okay.
You
I
know,
know it when I see it.
it reminds me of this. I saw a statement somewhere online about, and a lot of people have said this, that, oh, a there's too many racist people in Texas. They will never elect a Black woman statewide. And this is coming from a person who is white who says they're a Democrat. And that is the issue right there. It's the accepting and giving into the the racism narrative. Well, you can't win there because everybody's there racist. And you're a white person saying that. And you're just going, well, that's all okay.
Yeah. And so I'm
We'll
going
just
to
let this
support
go.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm just going to continue to
To
support
be
that.
clear, there are Black people that are falling into that narrative.
Yes, absolutely.
Plenty of Black people that fall into the narrative, Latinos, I mean, who across, because again, Texas is historically a state where Democrats cannot win. Yes, there's never been a Black candidate that is run. I think you did the video on it, Myron, where there hasn't been one who made it out of the nominee process, the
Right.
primary, who made it to the, so we don't know what
We don't know.
look like because we've never seen it before. And the demographics, obviously, of Texas have changed over the last 30 years. We know a woman has won, right? Ann Richards won in
Yeah.
Texas, so it's not a woman thing. But maybe what we need is for people to get off their behinds and actually go vote, because we know there is the voter apathy issue
Yes.
in Texas, as there is across the South, right? There is
Yes.
Yeah. And
voter apathy issue.
I kind of think that, well, no, I know that she recognizes that because Jasmine has spoken to that. And I feel like that she is like actually doing that boots on the ground work to engage those apathetic voters. And I was hearing, you know, I don't really do polls and that kind of stuff, but what I was hearing was that a lot of the Latinos, and Tiff, you could maybe speak to this, who had voted for Trump, well, they're not excited about her. You know, like they are now becoming kind of apathetic, but you know, a lot of Black people were in that apathetic basket as well. And the numbers, the polling numbers that are coming out shows that, you know, there is a huge increase from 2022 and as far as the early voting stages or whatever. So I'm thinking that she's talking to people who were not, you know, involved or who didn't vote. And if she is able to get them out, you know, I feel like she can win and even overcome that attitude of some people like, are you going to do this again? Like you're, you know, white people, you don't think she can win, but if she is, you know, the winner of the primary, are you going to withhold your vote? Are you going to allow this to continue?
Yeah, well, I
Right.
think that is the issue too, right? It's like okay, so if she wins the primary, and either one, somebody's gonna win, somebody's gonna lose, right? I mean,
Right. Right.
this is politics. This is how it works.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure that the people that are in Texas that are going to vote for Jasmine, because they are voters who understand harm reduction, they are not going to say screw James Talarico, knowing that Ken Paxton, that crazy corrupt cheater, is over there on the other side because he is the person who is likely going to win that.
And he should have been impeached, like
Right,
the guy in
he
the.
needs to be in jail. Let's be serious. I mean, the man is like beyond ridiculous. But
Mhm.
but the idea that neither of these candidates, I just don't think, I think either one of them are a long shot to win, right? So
Mhm.
you pick your fighter, and that's the way I look at it. You pick your fighter. You want somebody who is fearless, who is charismatic, who is able to tell people how she, like, say what she feels and not hold back, and be able to just go in like no one I have really ever seen in politics, like just go, like, she's a great communicator. Sometimes she says
Yeah.
that I don't always agree with, right? But she's
Right.
she's a really good person who's captivating and can tell you how she feels. And I think that actually there are people who respect that. When the New York Times did their focus group the other day, the main thing that people said they wanted was a fighter. They didn't want somebody who was weak,
Right.
or somebody who was going to fold their hands, or somebody who wanted to kumbaya. They didn't want that.
Right.
They want people who are going to fight.
And
So,
she's authentic.
right. But as I told you before, people want authentic people that they can control. They don't want
Right.
they don't want authentic people that are going to say what they want. But if you think about Trump, he won because he just says whatever the hell he wants, and people are like, you can agree, disagree. I mean, we saw it today. He's crazy, right? And
Yeah.
he says whatever, but somehow people are still drawn to that. So people are drawn to people who, like you said, tell the truth, or people who are, even if they're not telling the truth, they're drawn to people who just say what's on their mind.
Yeah, who are not afraid to speak out and speak their truth, whether you agree with them or not. And I do think that she possesses that, but I also think, being a Black woman, she is very strategic, and she understands that not only is it about communicating and kind of working with you know groups of people sometimes that you don't agree with in order to get legislation passed, but that she is someone who is going to speak out against those things that she doesn't feel is going to work or be good for the greater population. I mean, but
Mm.
she's a team player, and that I feel like that's sometimes a hard balance to walk, a hard balance, but I feel like she's a fighter. She's a team player. I have no doubt that if she doesn't win, that she will be very supportive of Tallarico, and try to help him get across the finish line as well. I'm not so sure about him.
You know what? I think it's important to remember that before she announced, in that space of time after the election, after Kamala lost, and before she announced, she was a darling of the left.
Yes,
Remember that? They left. Oh, she should be president. Oh, she
that's
should
the
run for
fighter we
president.
need.
No, they want her to be. They want her to be the speaker. They were like, she should
Yes.
take Hakeem's
Yes.
job. She's the one who.
Yes.
So yes, they're full of shit.
Right. And then that's every attribute they said they liked about her, and the reason they were pumping her up. And which I agreed, like she was fantastic, right? And like you said, Tef, she would sometimes go a little off the rails. For me, however, you know what? I'm not running. And all those attributes that they said they wanted in a person, and she was demonstrating, James Tallarico doesn't have any of those. But they flipped instantly and said, "This is our guy." And some of the things they criticized Kamala for, most notably her work with Liz Cheney, they're celebrating him for sitting down with all the right wingers, including Joe Rogan. And so that's
Exactly.
how sometimes women and Black women, women of color cannot win. Like you cannot win
They
if you
keep
try to
moving
appeal to that.
Right. They keep moving the goalpost. It's like they're fine. They're always with this and wanting, and it's always this other mystical candidate or whatever. Like if she's running, then, well, we would be down with it if it was Michelle, if it was,
Yes.
Obama, if it was
It's always somebody else.
and when they come, they appear,
It's
there's
the
a reason.
other Black. But the thing with that being said, in Illinois, they have a Senate race. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but Illinois
Mhm.
has their Senate race too. There's two
I
black
saw
women,
that. Yes.
Raja Krishnamurthy. So all three of them are people who are non-white that are running in this race. Everybody, there's people on all different sides who are for or against these candidates, right? But the one thing that I despise that people are doing, and I've seen it multiple times today, is people are saying, oh, well, Julia Stratton is who you think Jasmine Crockett is, or Julia Stratton is great, is running a better campaign. Why are we comparing?
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? These are two different states, like
two different people and two different states.
Right.
Yes.
And you can run a fuck Trump ad, which she had put out yesterday, which was
Right.
a good ad, right? It's a funny ad. I mean, you can put that, you can do that in an Illinois where the majority of the voter, whoever wins the primary is going to win. You're not having to worry about that. Jasmine could never, okay? She could never. She also doesn't have the backing of the governor, who is J.B. Pritzker, who has invested plenty of money into helping his lieutenant governor win. These are not the same races. Both of them want to do Medicare for all. They're both running more towards the left, further left than I would run. I mean, if I was going to run, you know what I mean? Like most of my candidates, I mean, Angela never said she was going to be for Medicare for all, or, you know, a lot of these policies that are more left leaning, so to speak. Right. Yeah. But apparently one black woman cannot run without being compared to another. Right. And that frustrates, because they are two there, and I'm sure that they both support one another. Like it shouldn't have to be. They shouldn't be pitting against. But this is also part of what the people who like to play white supremacy games. This is what they do.
Exactly. Like they moved the white supremacy goalpost, you know. But yes, I'm really I saw that. I'm glad you brought it up, that ad or whatever. But a lot of times I feel like they want these performative candidates or whatever, and it makes them feel good. It appeals to their itching ears. But then they get in office, and then you get a Fetterman. You know, like they loved him wearing the hoodie and, you know, being anti-establishment and, you know, all these things. But he doesn't like being there.
It is no different than Republicans falling for Joe the plumber, right?
Yeah,
it's all that nonsense. It's just nonsense, and it's just a distraction. But they fall for it, right? Certain demographic of people fall for that type of nonsense, and we don't have that luxury, right? Jasmine doesn't have that luxury to show up in some overalls at a country fair, you know, pretending to eat barbecue. Like we don't have that luxury. But something I wanted to say is I do think that, unlike Illinois, that Texas is going to inform the party apparatus for good or worse, depending on which one of these persons wins, right? Wins the primary. Because if Talarico wins, they're going to reinforce their idea that, oh, we got to reach out to MAGA. Right, we need a white guy to reach out to MAGA and to soft sell some Bible verses, and we can win, you know, in other states. But if Jasmine wins, I don't think they're going to have the same thing. They're going to call it a fluke. They're going to call it the Trump effect. They're going to call it anything but she won. And then in the general, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm watching this for the future as we head to 2028, because there'll be so many stories that come out of this, whether they're accurate or not. They're going to latch on to something.
Definitely. They will spin their own stories for sure. And I think it will tell a story. It looks like Myron might have a little connection problem, but I'm sure we'll get him back. But
sorry, my daughter was calling.
Oh, no problem. But you're right. They will have a spin for it. And I'm not sure that it's going to be, you know, the right spin, so to speak. But I think that like she clearly said, I am not trying to reach out to MAGA voters. I am trying to reach those apathetic voters. And again, I think that's a smart play and move on my part, because, I mean, how can we trust them to, you know, like they can be all the way with you, but when they go in that voting booth, who knows who they're going to vote for?
Anybody that trusts that MAGA would ever switch over is not right. There's a woman, Civic Sage. I don't know if you guys follow her on on Instagram or she might be on Blue Sky. I don't know, but she has a really good account, and she's from Texas, and she basically says, listen, I'm a Christian. I go to church and I know what these people are like. I'm a white woman. I hear all this stuff. And these folks are not just these folks are not going to listen to some young white man tell them about, Christianity and white nationalism and how bad it is and all this other stuff. She's like, no, what these people vote for is abortion. They're anti-abortion. That is their single issue. If you support abortion, they ain't voting for you. He's out there, right? Then you also have Republicans will have things to use against him. Whether I don't know if he said this or not, but I guess he was on something and he said that God is non-binary. They are going to pounce on that.
Goodness.
I don't know if he really said it. I know Fox is using it. There's the border thing where he was basically saying that we should have like something about like the doors need to be open. Like they will take anything and spin it to fit their narrative, right? And it's like, do you guys not understand how narratives work within the Republican Party? They will take the slightest thing. Yes, they will do it to Jasmine. They will do it to Tallarico. Him being a white man doesn't change that, because the goal for them is to win. They don't care if it's a lie. They don't care if it's the truth. They are going to use that and take it, and they will spin it to the way that makes them those people on that side say, no, I don't trust that person. They did it to Kamala. What the hell they did it to Joe Biden? It worked with Joe Biden. I don't think it was so much that he was a white male. It helped that he was a white male, but I also think that Trump suffered from incumbency because we had COVID, and then there was Black Lives Matter. So Biden benefited from those things. Kamala did not, because there wasn't anything like that happening that was driving people to vote. And so there is something that motivates people to vote in this election, and that's Donald Trump. He's back.
Exactly. And people are starting to feel the results of his policies, and I mean, certainly the immigration policies and things, but the tariffs and things too, because that has a blanketing effect over everyone, the entire country. And his base is greatly affected by that. But some of these people, it's that old adage who said it, like, they don't care how much they hurt if their people are in charge or whatever. It's it seems to be okay.
Myron, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
No? Weird. No. Speak. Let me see.
No. You may need to leave and come back, because when you get those calls, sometimes I know that I have. So why don't you see if you can do that? And I'll make sure you get back in here, because we definitely want to hear what Myron has to say. But yeah, this trying to appeal to, okay, try now. No, check your microphone down there.
Yeah, go all the way back out and come back in. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I don't feel like we should be wasting a lot of time trying to get these MAGA voters. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, and I just don't think it will work. No matter what the kind of flow is online, what people are saying, they may be saying that, but it's like, is that going to translate into actual votes? And I believe no. What about now, Myron?
Here we go. Yay!
Yeah. So go ahead, chime in.
I was going to say how, Tiffany, something you were saying just a moment ago. I wonder, like, what are the get out to vote efforts going on? Because ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. We know Texas is gerrymandered. We know there's a huge voter suppression network, right, of activities. what are the, and we know they closed a bunch of polling places, like all those things have happened.
And they
And
gave them their voter rolls like my crazy state,
yes,
and so they it was too early for them to do anything with it for this primary, but you can believe that they're gonna be pulling some shenanigans for, the general because they have those roles, and so
that's scary.
it's very scary, and it makes it we really have an uphill battle. Even when we, get out, if we surge the polls and everybody gets out there, we still have these people who are kind of controlling the mechanisms that, kind of certify the votes and all
Yes.
of those things. And they are not on our side. But I still believe it, it's possible. But we first of all got to get out there. And I do believe that Jasmine is actually like getting out there, and she has a team of, like I said, that kind of get out the vote on the ground there, just because of some of the folks I know that, she is working with. And you guys, I know Tiff is familiar with, Lauren Simmons, who,
Mhm.
Mhm.
ran and won, and her and Jasmine know each other. And I know the way that Lauren works, and I've been watching her line. Like they are union people. They get out there, they knock doors. They have, a great support network for that. So I just have to believe that, because we're not seeing all these ads and things, on a national level or whatever, that they're actually getting out there talking to the people who can actually vote for
Yeah.
them, you know.
Her hope is to be close to. I think it was the first time Beto ran, right? He was
Mhm,
very close that first time,
mhm,
and but it's been 30 years, right?
yeah,
No white man has won in 30 years. We know a black man ran. Sometime before that, a white woman ran. Sometime before that, a Latino man ran. They've all lost. Like they've all lost, and Republicans have held that state. And if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So
Exactly.
why not a black woman? Now
yeah,
it's an uphill battle, because once you get to Ken Paxton, and something you said is that Republicans, my old Republican friend I used to work with, he said, look, his father taught him, lifelong Republican, just vote the party, not the person. It doesn't matter, like you said, Tim. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who they are. If they got charges, if they got 10 wives and 15 kids out of wedlock,
Okay.
vote the party. And that other saying, Republicans fall in line,
Mhm.
Democrats want to fall in love.
mhm,
And if we don't love our candidate, then that get out to vote becomes even more crucial, because people will sit back, because everybody know the story. Americans do not vote in midterms.
mm-mm,
They don't.
The
The,
le-
like, just from my experience with just Senate races and how people decide like when to vote, how to vote, all that stuff. They don't decide that like 3 months in advance. Most people are not in tune to politics
right,
on a daily basis. First of
right.
all, there is like they are spending millions of dollars on ads between on the Republican side, they've spent like $60 million
Wow.
on that side. And that's because they are trying to preserve Cornyn from getting kicked out by
Right.
by
Paxton.
Jackson, right? And then you have
Yeah.
Weston Hunt who's involved in that. So there's a three-person race on that side, and they are
Wow.
millions of dollars.
Oh,
oh, now we lost Tiff. Okay.
no, but you know what? She brings up a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she's right, and I think it's good. Can we hear you?
I don't
Yeah.
hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
We swap places there.
Mhm.
But, you're right, and I think it's good that they are having to spend a lot of money. I also think that this thing that happened with Colbert, the timing seemed a little,
Yeah, that was a
sketchy to
setup.
me, and noticed how he got that bump or whatever. And, I know she was interviewed on, MS Now, and she hasn't been, invited on, since then or whatever. So, um, we'll
And you
just
know,
have to see.
this is why I talked about this week as well. That take all the corporate money you can get.
Mhm.
Take it all. Because listen, Elon Musk alone gave Donald Trump $350 million. And it took over $1 billion to win that presidency. And all those corporations that bent the knee and gave him money to his campaign, paid for his inauguration. And then as soon as a Democrat run, particularly a black Democrat, male or female, and Latino Democrat, all of a sudden the leftists say, well, they take corporate money. Well, how do you expect somebody is going to win? Like you said, Tiff, they've already spent 60 million in
Exactly.
Texas.
And
60.
counting, 60 billion and counting. And they have 3 people that are running. Danny said that the commercials are like wild. And that's what
I bet they are
attacking each other. Like they are. Paxton and Cornyn are. So when I think about it like that, as somebody who has like had tough primaries here in the last couple of years, right? When you saturate the airwaves with so many commercials, people check out. They don't want to see nonstop. I mean, you guys you had a Senate race. You had, Katie Porter and
right.
and Schiff. Like there was a lot of stuff. There's like a lot of stuff going on. Most people don't pay attention to elections until 3 weeks prior. That is usually what happens. Early voting has made people pay more attention, a little bit sooner. I would say maybe a month before. But people, especially in this climate, they don't want to be bothered with politics. It is stressful to be bothered in this climate with politics. So you start to see that people start getting checked out. The good thing is that it seems like people in Texas are tuned in to this, to the Democratic primary. They are showing up, even the Republicans, they're showing up. And I think the goal for Jasmine is, with her get out the vote outreach, is not so much commercials. It's like, okay, well, I want to have events. I'm going to go do things, and Tallarico's doing the same thing. There's door knocking, there's phone calls, there's there's social media. The good thing for Jasmine is that she has a national presence. Everybody knows her name in Texas. There's probably very few people who do not know who Jasmine Crockett is.
Right. She didn't have to introduce herself to voters.
Right. Whether you like it or not. And that has always been the struggle for a lot of candidates. When I think of Connor Lamb and Malcolm Kenyatta, people, they were local figures who were going against John Fetterman, who was a lieutenant governor, was on TV constantly. People knew him. Same thing in our race or Senate, we had Angela Alsobrooks and David Trone, but only certain pockets of people knew them. So they had to spend a lot of money on commercials so people could get to know who they are and do a lot of events. Jasmine has the luxury of not having that. Will that work out in the end? I don't know, because a lot of people Tallarico has spent millions of dollars trying to get name recognition, which is not an easy thing to do. So just because people know your name doesn't mean that they necessarily trust you. And I think that was kind of the message that you and I yesterday, Myron, were trying to get out about the Fetterman thing. And it's not to say that Tallarico is Fetterman. Baby, there is nobody that is John. There is nobody that is him. He is one of one.
And he is very uniquely awful.
I mean, he has his, the way he dresses, the chasing the black man, running an all-white centered campaign, not caring about Latinos, not even going to the major cities. He was off of winning in the suburbs and in rural areas. That's how he won that race. And so that is not what we're trying to say. I just want to make this clear. We're not saying that he is Fetterman. What we're saying is that when there are people who have betrayed your trust, which would be cinema, because if people like, okay, we voted this woman in, we helped her to win, and now she doesn't even want to do anything remotely progressive. It wasn't even like we were asking for about voting rights. Right, we're asking about voting rights and to help us gain voting rights, and so did Manchin, right? You have that dynamic, so people don't trust. So them the cinema thing turned into a Fetterman thing, because then
terrible.
Switch it up. You saw him switch it up, which we warned. We warned. He is he's not who you think he is. He's not who you think he is. And I don't agree that he is Fetterman. I agree that he is somebody that people do not know, therefore they do not trust, because people are not.
Or they shouldn't just give blind trust to, because he does not have a track record that we can check, and because he's trying to run so closely to that MAGA sect and appeal to them, that makes me nervous. And also the Christian national, the Christian thing, because I mean, they act as if Jasmine doesn't have an understanding of religion. I mean, she grew
Right.
up in the church. Her minister, I think, is actually running in her, for her seat. Her father was a minister. So it's not, Black people, like the civil rights movement, born out of churches. Okay. So
I've written a lot about how white American Christians do not accept and believe that Black American Christians are Christians. We
okay.
got we got 400 years of history of that. White Christians were the ones bombing our Black Christian churches.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
so you got Reverend Warnock in there. They don't believe him. They still don't believe Obama was a Christian.
Exactly.
It's
Because
just
it doesn't look like it does in their community, or like
right.
they think it should look, because they lost their mind when President Obama's, when he was running and his
Yeah.
minister, spoke like Jasmine.
They made him disavow that man.
They surely did. They surely did. But I mean, this is just kind of back to like how people
Yeah.
like where do we go from here, right? Because you don't see this woman as worthy, and I think that is the part that pisses us all off, that you don't see this woman worthy of being the nominee because you're
Right.
fearful of what white voters will do. Guess what? Texas is a majority minority state, which I hate saying that,
Right.
but it's true.
It
And
is.
you need to start focusing on the people that you need. The people, the Latinos are going to decide this election, whether people
Right.
want to believe it or not. Black voters are in a corner, white voters
Right.
are in a corner. There is going to be some crossover and mix in there. There will be. But the Latinos, who make up a good portion of the electorate in Texas, is who you are trying to see where they're going to fall. A lot of
And you know what, Tiff? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
Even the subset, because Latino women lean one way and Latino men lean the other way.
and
Exactly.
young Latinos lean a different way too. So
Yes.
some of them don't want to hear about the Bible. I'm sorry,
No.
And this
they're over religion in a sense, because a lot of young people who may have grown up in the church, or especially Latinos that are Catholic, they're kind of moving away. Some have come back to it, but let's be real, these Christians don't even think, like you said, Catholics are Christian. Like
Right.
so much about this.
Right.
It's crazy that
Right.
the whole thing is nuts.
But it really is. But that's the other thing. And then it's a couple other things I want us to touch on before we leave. But I think probably what disturbs me really most, seeing all this and hearing, the influencers and the people with the big accounts talking about this race and talking about what Democrats should and shouldn't be doing and how they need to listen to their base or whatever. And I'm like, hello, hey, base over here screaming. Like, these are people who never have any Black voices in their conversation, but they are considering themselves to be the base. Okay. And that is very, very disturbing and angering at sometimes to me, because it's like, we have the answers, talk to us, and you need to listen to us, when we know statistically who's the base.
Yeah.
Well, they want to erase the base. I think, Myron, you've made quite a few posts about wanting to erase the base. They just want they want to pretend, they want to shift who the base is to white males, and and I think this race is, like you said, a test case for kind of where we move.
It is
in the party. Sad to say, because they'll say, see, we told you a white man. Okay, y'all told us about John Fetterman too, and look at where he's at. So,
yeah. There's a lot of anger at Black voters within the Democratic Party, right? They're angry that Biden went to the South and wiped out Bernard and everybody else and got elected, and then they were mad that he said, "I'm going to select a Black woman," right? And then he picked Kamala, and they were mad at Black people for Kamala being very good. Right? She was very good. Like, you could see that. And then mad that he stepped down, and mad that he endorsed her, and then mad that she ran and lost.
Yes.
And so that anger from particularly, not exclusively, but particularly the white men in the party is palpable. We know they're angry at Black people.
Yes.
And so Jasmine is getting some of that.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up, Myron, because what I say when I hear people bashing President Biden, who I think was probably one of the most consequential presidents in my lifetime, I think a lot of it goes back to that and the fact that, like you said, he had a black woman who was his vice president. He had more women in his cabinet than any other president in my lifetime. And his cabinet was extremely diverse. And I think that is the white lash, the backlash
Yes.
to what he did, regardless of his policies. It's the
Yes.
people who he put in place, the people who he gave power and decision making to.
Yes.
I mean, for the first time in these 250 years of our nation, we actually had an indigenous woman who was in
Fantastic.
charge of the interior.
Yeah,
Okay,
Miss Deb. Yeah, and Miss Deb did a great job.
she did. And I think that is what some of that backlash is from, is that, like, I feel like his cabinet represented America, but a lot of people don't want that to be the
Right,
representation,
right. Because you have, to Tiffany's point, you have the most loyal Republican voter is a white male.
Mm-hmm.
The least loyal Democratic voter is a white male.
Mm-hmm.
But the white males in the Democratic Party decided they need to be in charge.
Right.
Right. We all should just do what they tell us. We should just follow them, and then they will get elected, and then we just follow them, and everybody should be happy.
And we
Like,
should
they're
just
mad.
fall in line.
Yeah, and it's just, no, we're not. No, those days are over. We're not going to do that.
Mm-mm.
And you know what? You could earn your way.
Yeah.
There's some really good white candidates that have flipped some districts around the country, that are in the House and the Senate right now in different states. That's fine. You just have to earn it like everybody else. But this wave of people who are mad inside the party as these new campaigns are going right now, they just want us to be quiet, sit down, and go along for the ride and just do what they tell us.
Yeah, just vote. That's all they
Yeah,
want from us.
No, they're literally like, shut up. That's go in the corner. But to your point, Mike, Myron, there are great white candidates, that male white candidates. I think of the governor who is in North Carolina, who is going to be the nominee. I cannot think of his name at the moment, but he is going to be Roy Cooper. He was
my
governor was down there this week and trying.
Lauren loves him. Yeah, and she lives there in North Carolina.
Why? Because he is a person that actually doesn't censor Black people. He cares about Black people. That's all we're asking, is for you to have a little bit of care about. Because
we don't want anything extra. Just
we are
a little care.
Are marginalized, and we want you to actually see that you care about the issues that are affecting us. The same thing with Jon Ossoff, a white male,
right? And
people love him in Georgia because he is not someone who is trying to tell people how to vote, what to do, when to do. Like, there are plenty of white men that I can think of. My own senator, Chris Van Hollen, love him.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, there are so many white men in the party that are amazing. So this whole idea that we don't care about white men and we don't, that's a false narrative. We care about them. We want you to care about us. That's what we're asking.
That's the thing.
Please. That's it.
It is. And that's really the essence of it. No one's asking you to center us, but you can't ignore us, especially when we represent the base. I mean, numerically, the voting base of the Democratic Party. And you want to act like we don't. It's insulting,
It is insulting.
We're just not going to, we're not going to shut up and just take that. Okay.
But the messed up thing is that if you bring that up, then you're talking about identity politics.
Right.
And that's their new line, the identity politics, blah, blah, blah. Right. No, it's not identity politics. Our identity matters. It's who we are. We can't. I
mean, when you see us, what do you see?
Walk out the house, when people see what you are, your identity is going to be first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
You can't hide that. So to tell us, oh, don't talk about identity politics, pretend like racism doesn't exist.
No.
pretend like misogyny doesn't exist. No, we're going to call those things out. And I think that is what's pissing them off the most about this specific race, is that we are not shutting up and we're saying, no, we're calling you out. You said something that was what we consider to be something a white supremacist would say. Just because you're a Democrat does not exempt you from saying racist things. And that is what bothers me, because I saw Adam Mockler went and was talking to Hassan Piker of all people.
Oh, gosh.
I tried to listen to that dude. I could only take him in one or two clips, but I want to talk about him because I see where they're going with this, and we're not doing this harm reduction thing. That is like the ultimate slap in the face.
Yes, and so that's why, and we kind of have talked about some of these younger white men within the party. And Adam is just another example. He said, he was just having a conversation, understandable. And he said the reason that, that it's not right that some of the people that are supporting Jasmine were calling, his friends white supremacists. Listen, we're going to call it like we see it, okay?
Right.
We're not going to sugarcoat what we're seeing. If you don't want to be called a white supremacist or racist, then please don't say racist things, because we are going to call that out. It is very simple. I'm not going to call you a homophobe unless you say homophobic things. I'm not going to call you an anti-Semite unless you say anti-Semitic things. It goes both ways. So I am sorry.
But you know what, to your point, Tiff, and that's something that our communities, Black and Latino communities, we are very direct. Like we're not going to talk around things and soften the words to protect your little ego or your feelings. If you say something racist, we're going to say you just said something racist. Right. And say it
crosses all parties. Like that white supremacy stuff is not, reserved just for, the right. It goes across party lines. Misogyny, it goes across party lines and even demographics within. Because we have it within, the Black community, the Latino community. And as you said, when we see it, we're going to call it out, because, ignoring it and tiptoeing around it doesn't help any of us. You know,
that's exactly it. Yes. And you know what? We can go all the way back to Jasmine Crockett when she was doing it in the House, being direct and questioning. They loved her. No different than when Kamala was grilling people in the Senate. They loved her.
Yes.
They love that about us when they see us using it on Republicans, but then they think they should be immune no matter what they say.
Right.
And we just don't roll like that. We'll call each other out, because that's how we're raised. Those are our cultures.
Yeah, you need to face your bias and your, you just own it. Like you did a racist thing, you acted in a racist way, just own that. Don't do it again. You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, they think that the K-Hive is like we don't have disagreements amongst us. You know how many times we have disagreements amongst us? Like this is not anything new, because guess what? That's how we were raised. We are not people that are just gonna sit around and just not say anything. There's times when I'm, Kenny has crazy videos and I'll be like, Kenny, like
pull it back a little bit.
Like we do have this kind of conversations with one another, but I think that people outside of like our communities don't necessarily know how to have those conversations.
Right.
Become immediately defensive when you are trying, whether you're trying to call them in or you're trying to call them out, they get immediately defensive and say, how dare you accuse me of so-and-so? It's not an accusation. We're telling you what you're saying is not proper, and what you're saying is actually something that is offensive to us. So it is frustrating to have those conversations with people. And I try to be like fair. I try to be fair across the board. And people get mad at me because I try to be fair, whether it's Mom Don.
Oh, they get mad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very diplomatic because
Yeah, I mean, they were mad at me about my video that I made today about, hypocrisy. And I don't care if you're mad at me. You can't rebut it. There's no way you can rebut it other than say, oh, well, it's not coordination. You're missing the point. You're missing what I'm trying to say because you're too defensive. You need to go talk to your candidate. You need to go talk to your candidate about why people feel like he is John Fetterman.
Right.
Mhm.
It is
Exactly.
not for us to solve. That is for you guys to solve.
Right.
And you're like, it's coordinated. There's like this whole, it's coordinated. Y'all are getting paid. Who's paying me? Nobody.
Lord, if we actually got the money that they seem to
Right. If I
send,
got the money,
I would be.
I would not
I
be in
would
the
have a full-time producer, and I wouldn't be, trying to figure out.
after I got my hair done with pink curls in my hair, talking about this, but it pissed me off, so I had to make the video in the TJ Maxx parking lot. Like that's but this is what they think. They like this, but I take that as a compliment because you know what? You think that we're so coordinated that we are honestly the whole Fetterman thing. I saw like a few people say it on Threads, and I went and made my video. I don't need direction from somebody like, hey, can you go make? Nobody has ever said. I'm sure Myron used to. Nobody said, hey, Myron, can you make a video about? Well, no, you just see things and you're like, I'm going to make me a video because I'm pissed.
Right. That's exactly it. You just see things on the apps. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think we all are driven in our advocacy, from a real place, from issues that bother us or issues that we think are important and need elevating. And it's because we do care. We are civically engaged people and we have, some platforms and we use them in that way. And I that's why, I do go after some of these folks who have larger platforms and things because I feel like you have a responsibility. For some of them, it is just about that engagement and the metrics, the numbers and all of that. And it's like, if you're going to be using your platform to discuss politics, be responsible because this is our democracy really that you're playing with. It's like those dudes that, the Polymark thing, like that to me is just like the most grossest thing ever to really gamble on our democracy. It's just gross. I mean, we care about things and we speak to them, and I think that is important. And so when I see other people using their platforms, because sometimes I feel like some people just they do political commentary because it's popular and it gets them numbers. They don't give a damn about them. And in some ways, I feel like some of them should stop. Of course, I know that they're not, but it's like, since you're going to keep doing it, be responsible. And when you're irresponsible, I am going to call you out about it. I am going to call you on it because I feel like you have a duty to your audience and to this democracy at this time to be more responsible. And that dude, that Hassan guy, like someone sent me, because I wasn't even aware of him. And someone sent me a clip, and I guess one of those I've had it ladies, and he, were on a podcast, and I still have not, I've only gotten through 20 minutes of that because he was pissing me off so bad. And it was like, so you really just don't give a damn about Black women, and
they don't care. The thing is Hassan Piker, first of all, he's Cenk, whatever his name, Uyghur's nephew.
Right. Right.
He makes millions of dollars using stream. What is that? The video game.
He's a streamer or something.
Yeah, it's like that's whatever. Twitch. That's
Twitch.
Yeah. It's owned by Amazon, by the way. And so, I mean, these things are all connected. And then he has like a huge YouTube platform. So you kind of see the writing on the wall. And then he acts like he's like so far left. He doesn't want to vote for Gavin Newsom. He said he would never vote for Gavin Newsom. He'll vote for the party. A lot of these people are, to me, just agitators. They're just agitators. They like, I don't even believe that he has any true beliefs on politics. I don't even think he even knows anything about politics. I mean,
it's just content. Yeah.
This content is just, okay, well, these are things that I like, and I'm going to say what I want, and no one can. That's cool. There are a lot of people who have built their platforms off of politics. And now they can't deviate from the politics because deviating from it means they would lose their audiences.
Yes, use that stream.
They have to keep up the grievance. The grievance is what fuels all of that. And
you know what, Tiff? It's funny you said, because I made a point about that today. You know how, so the Supreme Court struck down the tariffs. Now, when he was putting all those tariffs in place, and you always talk about this, people don't understand civics, that left-wing podcast YouTube group just started ripping into Democrats. right? Just ripping into them, saying they didn't stop him. Jeffries need to go. Schumer needs to go because Trump is doing tariffs, but he's doing executive orders. And the process of legislation takes longer. And then the lawsuits have to wind their ways through the court. And then the Supreme Court says, okay, they're illegal. But none of those podcasters, YouTubers, leftists, none of those people will now come on and say, oh, the process did work. They won't say that. Like that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't generate the revenue, the streams, the clicks, the engagement, the rage farming, none of that. It's just there. That's how the legislative process works.
Today reminds me of we spent how many months, like a whole year of saying cancel student loans, right? And then we told them the Supreme Court is going to knock this down. The Supreme Court is not going to agree with this. They didn't listen. Trump was on the same thing about his tariffs, right? It gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is like, listen, you can impose tariffs, but you're going to need to go make legislation because you can't just use this policy and take it and do tariff on it. He's pissed. But it's kind of the same thing where you're trying, and it doesn't matter what administration you're working with. Obama did it. He did it on DACA.
Yeah.
And he got away with it, right? I mean, whoever was the lawyer for that, they handled that really well. I will say that. But sometimes it's a hit or a miss situation. You win some and you lose some. Yes. I don't trust the Supreme Court. They're gonna kill Section 2 in a couple months, right? I mean, you take the good with the bad because that's the way the court is unfortunately set up.
Yes.
And you two hit on something, and I think it's why I just love talking to you guys, because you do understand civics, and that is something that those influencers don't tend to understand or care about. And it's like you have this huge audience of folks, take a little time to explain things to them. Like, you're really good at pointing out all of the problems, but the solutions you offer suck. You're not political strategists. You're commentators. You can point out the problems, but stop trying to give political advice because your political strategy sucks. And that's the problem I have.
You know what? I was asked that question on my own podcast. Like, why do you do the videos and, some of the government political stuff? And I said, well, I have a 20-year-old daughter and she's in college, and actually she'll be 21 on Sunday.
It's crazy.
and I, sometimes she says something about, whatever is popping up in the political sphere and everything. And sometimes she says it, with a 20-year-old's opinion and view of things. And I like her to talk and to get it out. And then if I get the opportunity, I'll say, well, here's a broader picture of that, right? It's not as easy as saying, for example, like you see online, cancel student loans, do this, do that. It's just sloganeering, right? And so sometimes I'll make videos thinking, what would I say to my 20-year-old daughter about this? Well, you know what? You can't just impeach Donald Trump. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. And before all that, you got to get people in office. Like, these things have to happen. And if they don't happen, just saying impeach Donald Trump, that's just sloganeering. You're not doing anything. And so that helps me. It keeps me grounded. Okay, how can I position this online? Because, like you said, these people, these large platforms, they don't mind saying, Schumer resigned, Jeffries resigned, don't take corporate money, don't do this. But they never give you, the full picture of how things actually operate.
Yes. And I love that story, Myron, because again, I think in a sense that's why I do it, because my, talking about it and stuff started with my own family, like trying to educate them and show them. And I realized they were not alone. And then, we started having the online things, and, people need to understand, like, it's okay not to know, but, try to learn what you don't know, and definitely be engaged, because that's the only way that we have a strong democracy, is when all of our citizens are engaged and from a place of being well informed, like not just this, these slogans and things that are not practical,
Yes.
I'm so over it. Well, I think the Illinois race will be a test in that, right? I said this yesterday in a tweet, because you have Juliana who's saying abolish ICE. She's using all the talking points. She's like,
people are loving it.
She's not gonna vote for Schumer to be the speaker. Yeah. So, I mean, these are the kind of things that she is saying. She has the ad that she put out, which was kind of bold and brazen to put out, but I liked it. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I'm
You
on
know
board.
what? I said this about Mondami in New York. You can campaign on anything. You can say anything in campaigning.
Right, exactly. You can work
Governing is a
together.
whole nother egg, but you get to that when you get to it. When you campaign,
I mean,
say
I
anything.
think the Senate is actually easier to do than what he did because in New York, you're going to hold you to the fire.
There you go.
You said because you are the executive, you are the leader in the Senate. You're
Right.
1 in 100. You have.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta out. You have some
Tell
excuse.
you like Angela Osbrooks ran on abortion, on abortion. I mean, we're not even talking about that anymore, but
Right.
it was what the narrative was at the moment. And the narrative right now is about abolish ICE. And while we may believe ICE should be abolished, does that framing work on an electorate? Because it's easy to say,
Easy to say.
but getting people to actually agree with you is a whole different thing because there
Yes.
are people in Illinois who had an influx of immigration. There was an influx of immigration thanks to Greg Abbott, who
Yep.
sent all these people up there. And that was one of the things that really made them mad at Biden was the fact that they had so many people. They were taking these migrants were taking resources.
Yes.
So how does that play when you're
Yeah.
talking about that with a select amount of people who felt that they were disenfranchised because migrants came and took their resources? How does that play out in the scheme of things? So like you said, a lot of politics is about strategy and what strategy works. Is Raja Krishnamurthy, who's probably the person that is likely going to. There's two people in this race that are like Robin Kelly's in, but she's not down in the polls. There's two people with two different trajectories on how they're talking about issues, what works. And then she's also about that corporate PAC money, and they're calling her out, and they're fighting about corporate PAC money, and I'm like, all of y'all taking money, okay?
Because the way our campaign works.
Whether it's directly or indirectly, y'all are all using billionaires and these billionaire donors to help corporations to help you to win a race, because unfortunately in America, elections cost a whole lot of money.
Right. Your $5 donation is not going to get anybody elected.
$7 donations are not going to win you elections, and especially
if you wanted
like in Texas, you need money
big bucks
to win against these Republicans. In
like
Illinois,
California, race about the
you're going to have some
race.
campaign finance reform changes done before you can start screaming at these people about not taking money, because unfortunately that's just the way.
I think my favorite part about this, especially today, is like the Talarico people are like, well, James wants to get rid of the super PACs and he wants to get rid of the business. I said, so he wants to get rid of them after they help him get into right. So you do realize what you're saying to me. Like, it's cool now, but when he gets there, he's gonna change the rules so that somebody else has to not be able to get it. Think about what they're saying.
Exactly. Well,
I made that point. I want to say one more thing. I made that point in a video, I think yesterday. We all take corporate money, right? Whether we are working or not working, the devices we're using, all the corporate stuff in our homes, our cars. Yeah, that's America. That's part of the deal.
Right. You just get to choose which one, like you try to find the least sleaziest one.
Yes.
The least harmful one. They're all, if you think about it, pretty much mostly every corporation is tied to Trump in some kind of way at this point. You can't escape it. And I think people are so weird because they're like, well, Jasmine took $3,000 from this. I said, so, and Jasmine even said, she said, so you think that $3,000 is going to persuade me to do something for you? Because I promise you, it's not that cheap. Like, I'm not a cheap
$3,000. And focusing on those things just prevents more conversation around actual policies and things that could be done. That's the other thing that I hate. It sucks up a lot of, air from, I think more meaningful conversations and opportunities for them to discuss policies and stuff. And it's just kind of lazy. But Tiff, I want to talk a little bit about something that's going on in your state. And it's like the contrast in states. Okay. I'm so proud of your governor, your legislature passing the legislation so that ICE, your police don't have to work with ICE in contrast to mine that is actually passing legislation forcing every municipality, even the Democratic ones
Oh
like
gosh.
Nashville, to sign agreements, 287G agreements to work with ICE. Talk to me
Oh
a little bit about that. I was like, that's wonderful.
The problem here is that these sheriffs are now saying, well, we may not enforce it. And so they are going to try to defy the legislature as well as the governor who signed
wow.
legislation. And so, I mean, we do have red counties. We don't have
Sure.
all blue counties. The blue counties are like,
Sure.
we're going to comply, but the red counties are like, no, we. And then you had Larry Hogan, who was also interviewed this week, who said,
Wow.
he's basically telling them that you should defy. So I don't know.
Ugh.
I don't know what the governor is going to do, but the sheriffs, most of them are voted in, so they're going to lose their. Whenever they're up for election, they're going to lose their
There it
election.
is.
We're going to f around and find out. I mean, some of these red places. The thing is, we have had, where there were a few murders here, that of Americans who were murdered by migrants and I guess whatever you want to call them. They're not illegal, but people who were not documented, and so they use that. But I think my biggest issue is not really so much this part of it, is that I know what these red people are going to do whatever they want, right?
Yep.
But what's really pissing me off is midterm, like this midterm redistricting thing. That's really pissing me off, because our state senator does not want to move. I mean, our state president, our Senate president does not want to move forward with the. Hakeem came here on Monday or Tuesday to meet with them. He's saying he's not moving forward, and I'm pissed because now but the thing is, he represents a fairly progressive district, majority minority, like we said, and he will get challenged for his role. And you're gonna f around and find out. And I know the guy who's running against him, he's he's an influencer. Go figure this. He's an influencer. He's cool people, but he is going to. But people will recognize this, and the gov did everything he could to get this far. The filing deadline for candidates is next week. He's basically dragged this out so that if somebody wants to run in the seat, they're going to get screwed.
Okay.
So it's a lot of like political things happening behind the scene in Maryland.
Wow.
But the 287G thing is interesting because I do feel like there's going to be some defiance, and the governor's going to have to figure out how to handle it.
Well, I'm glad you told me about that, because I was just happy to see them passing legislation. I mean, but essentially it's like the reverse here. The same thing, like, they pass it, and some of the cities are not wanting to cooperate. Like we had, I think we only had like 40 counties that had signed on, but now they're literally passing a law to force everyone. Especially like Nashville and stuff. They hate that, we're a Democratic stronghold here in the States. Us and Memphis are like the only kind of places. And so they're not, they people elect their leaders, but they're trying to usurp the power from those elected leaders or whatever. So I want to keep an eye on that story and see what goes on. So Myron,
I'll let you know, Dee, because it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it just passed like last week, so we'll see what they do in terms of enforcement and who's gonna apply. I mean, it's a state law now. It's not a jurisdiction law. It's a state law. So we'll see.
I think that they should, whether or not you have these sheriffs who defy or whatever, because when you have a federal, administration trying to federalize these laws and policies, and it's not hard for them to get red states like mine, Tennessee, Texas, and others to pass laws to force them to. I think that the
Right.
Democratic states, blue states should be passing laws to prevent them from
Absolutely.
doing that. So I think it's good, and we'll see how it works out. So Myron, I know a lot of interesting things going on in California, but I can't keep up with everything. So what would you say might be something that might not be, on the national radar going on in California?
Okay, so we have a governor's race.
Hmm.
Um, and the candidates are Eric Swalwell, there's Katie Porter, and there's Hoyer. And the billionaire Hoyer. And right now, Hoyer is running ads on every channel all day long, all day, all night. He's the only one. He's the only one. And one of the things he's promising all the big things. He's gonna, end enforce border stuff. And he's the only billionaire that he's gonna give his fortune away and all this kind of crap. But he is the only person who is advertising right now. Nobody else is. Now, he's not leading in the polls, but he's spending the money to get there. So it's going to be really interesting. And there's one guy, I can't think of his name, who is in Southern California. I can't think of his name, but he is a Republican running as a Democrat to try to win one of the seats down. And it's known, like it's not a secret or anything. It
Hmm.
actually is because of the redistricting. He just
Uh-huh. Okay.
I'll just change my party affiliation and do this, and then switch back after I win. And so we'll see.
Yeah, and we've had a few of those things done to us in various states that really, really hurt us. So yeah, we'll
Yes.
keep an eye on that too. I know you guys are familiar with Mickey, and in our Good Trouble chat on Monday, she was talking about there being so many of them that she thinks that that no one is really kind of coming to the
Mm,
surface, rising to the surface, and she feels like it could put you guys in danger of having a Republican if, and she's going to some, candidate forums and things, and she wants to ask them at what point, like, will you, if you get to a certain point,
mm,
drop out and endorse another to ensure that, there is a Democrat on the ticket. And, after you to a certain point, will you, commit to doing that
right.
essentially so that we don't risk all the Democrats washing all the Democrats out and you get, two Republicans up there or whatever.
Right. And it's interesting because California has a lot of Republican governors in our history. Like
Hmm.
California, is known as blue, but you go all the way back to Reagan, and you got Arnold Schwarzenegger was a two-term.
Mm,
More recently, that was in the 2000s. And
right.
so what happens, but right now the Democrats have a supermajority in the legislature. And so a Republican governor, if that could happen, it won't be able to get anything done. Like it's
Hmm.
just not going to happen. And so that ranked choice nonsense, a Republican could slip in there, but I think there are too many well-known Democrats. Like I don't think Katie Porter stands a chance, but she has name recognition. Like
Right.
she's
Her
going to
and
get some votes.
Swalwell
And
both have.
Swalwell's going to get a lot of votes. And the LA mayor, Villagrosa, that's who I think may ultimately come out of the pack and win.
Hmm.
That's who I think maybe because the LA basin is 8 million, 15 million people, so it's gigantic, and so a former LA mayor has a lot of pull. He doesn't have the reach in Northern California, particularly in the money area of the Bay Area, because
Hmm.
you got the tech money and you got the
Right.
old Democratic money, and that
A
old
lot of that's
Democratic money,
losing y'all though.
yeah, and that money went to Liz Warren and Bernard Sanders. That old San Francisco Marin County money. That's where that money went. And so it'll
Mm.
be interesting to see where that comes, like where they're going to put their money. Again, I think Villagrosa is going to come out of it, but he may come out of it damaged because between the billionaire and Porter and Swalwell, that's going to be a brutal four-person fight for the Dem nominee.
When
All
is the
right.
when is the primary, Myron?
I think this is February, June. I think we moved it to June or something like that. Yeah,
I know the filing deadline was like March, so I guess.
yeah,
I mean, at some point, people are going to have to drop out. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
and
Yeah,
and
they
and
have to
and
drop
I
out.
think that's a good, if you are having encounters and conversations with candidates or whatever, I think that's a great question for, someone to pose to them to see, like,
Yes.
is it just about you, or do you want this party? Do you want, the
Yes.
democracy to be strengthened? I will be asking and keeping tabs on the California race with my California friends. So
Yeah. Excellent.
I appreciate that. And, just to give you a little bit of update of what's going on here in, the Tennessee autocratic regime. Of course, you guys know that prior to us starting our session back, that our House leader was meeting with Stephen Miller and
Mm.
other people in the
Jeez.
White House to literally make Tennessee the test pilot for states' cooperation with ICE. And so they
Oh
are
boy.
pushing through legislation like crazy. And there's not a lot that we can do to stop it, because they have a super majority. The governor, both
Terrible.
houses of the legislature, and it's not by like a few numbers, it's huge
Right. Wow.
numbers. And so what that looks like basically is making life unlivable for someone who is undocumented, and maybe
Wow.
even people just black and brown people, period, because that a lot of this is based in profiling. So someone who is
Yes.
actually legally here could end up being harassed and caught up in legal mess because of their
Terrible.
race, to cooperate with Miller's vision of ethnic cleansing.
Right.
And so Tennessee, raised their hand. We also
Well, good.
gave our voter data over to them. No questions asked, no problem. I know our Monica is, the volunteer state, but it wasn't for that. It wasn't
Right.
because of that. It was more noble than that. But I will keep you guys posted on it. But we also have a very interesting race that I think will probably draw national attention. We have a governor's race, and Marsha
Mm.
Blackburn, which is known nationally, she's
Oh,
running.
is she really? I didn't know that.
Yes, she's running, and also one of the House representatives, Rose, is running as well. I don't think he has much of a chance, but Marsha is pretty strong, because in her race for Senate, she beat out someone who I think should have won.
Really?
When she ran her Senate race, she was running against a two-time mayor, Nashville
Oh.
mayor, a two-time governor, a Democratic governor. He is when he was governor, he brought the Titans here. He really,
Oh.
Bill Bredesen, he very well known, well-respected businessman, and she beat him out.
Wow.
But yeah, now she's running for governor, and we have some Democratic candidates, but I think the strongest one is a woman out of Memphis. Her name is Jerry Green. So keep an eye
Jerry
on that.
Green.
And they've been fighting a little bit back and forth online, and I love it, because Marsha came right out after the Speaker of the House talked about them agreeing with, Miller's vision. And she basically, came out on her Twitter platform saying, yeah, I am down with this. She's co-signing.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So you can imagine what it will be like to live here if, we have this super majority and someone like her. And I mean, I'm not leaving, because like my dad is still here. We have
Awful.
land here. I'm not leaving, but it's going to be hard as hell to
Right.
exist in this state if you are not white. Okay.
The race that I'm curious about in your state is Steve Cohen and Justin Pearson.
Mm.
That is a very interesting race. Obviously, I don't think most people knew that he was endorsed by what is it? Not CSA. What's the other one? Justice Democrats. I don't know that he was. I still like him. I think he's a good guy. And I think that he has promise. Steve Cohen has said some things that piss people off. So what's your thoughts on that race?
Well, I have known that he was part of this DSA, but like I said, he and Justin Jones both, I knew that they were on the progressive side. But I think that they are needful for our
Mhm.
state because we're in such a GOP super
Mhm.
majority. Like you need that extreme kind of pushback and to bring attention to it. I also think like the family and the community that he comes up in, like they're not extreme. The things that they're asking for, like he
Mhm.
is an environmental advocate who
Huh.
has made films. He with Justin Timberlake, like his work is real. He has policies and things that he cares about that were in place before he was in the legislature. So he's not performative and he
Mhm.
understands his community. He's connected with it. So I don't really see it as being a problem other than just kind of like that negative association. But as far as the kinds of things that he would want to do, like I think we need someone like him because Cohen, he does some good things, but I feel like really in this case, and of course, I'm not far behind him in age, so it's not ageism, but I just kind of think he has, ran his course as to, how successful he can be
Mhm.
in that seat. He didn't speak out when they sent the military into Memphis. He still hasn't spoken. You see very little. Like you would have to go to his website.
Wow.
When Musk brought his AI company here, all the pollution and poisoning and things that are going on in that community, heard nothing from him. Justin has been, beating the drums on that, leading and building
Terrible.
coalitions to speak out about it. And because Musk isn't going anywhere, he's just expanding and deepening his claws into the community. I think we need someone like a Justin to fight back, to call it out. And he does have a little national recognition. So it
Mm.
brings that recognition to us because Musk brought that XAI stuff here with NDAs. He did
Right.
the Loop deal with NDAs and stuff. So people are not finding
Terrible.
out about these things. And I think that Justin keeps his finger on the pulse on those kinds of things. And he speaks out and he is able to, as I said, get on national platforms to speak about it. And I think that we need that attention here because Musk is killing our state.
Do you have I know Memphis is the headquarters for the Churches of God in Christ,
Mhm.
right? Kojic, that's the headquarters. Do they get involved in politics there?
I don't the churches are and actually Justin is comes from a very religiously involved. I think his father is a minister and I
Mm.
think that he, preaches. Well, I know that he preaches in church sometime and
Mhm.
a lot of the activity, there's quite a few like smaller organizations and some
Right.
of them are churches. I don't know if that one specifically is. I will check
Okay.
on that, but yes, they are, trying to just build coalitions to save their community because he's not
Sure.
stopping. And these people, all they do is they see money
Yeah.
and so they bring it in. And the same thing right on the other side of me, the county next to mine, um, has apparently, we're still trying to find out, got an ICE detention facility, that a warehouse that they're going to open. They first announced it and then they denied it, but I still feel like it's
Yeah.
probably there, knowing the county and their makeup and things, like they already profit a lot from incarceration with, like,
Sure. It's terrible. I,
imprisonment.
I I saw a video over on TikTok, a person in Mississippi, and the video was just them saying, "Listen to the sound of this AI center that they put in our neighborhood,"
Mhm.
and
That's South
is.
Haven that it's, probably.
I
Because
had no idea.
yes, because the reason is they are, border, Mississippi and Tennessee border, and so
Mhm.
he has spilled over into
Wow.
Mississippi, so the problem crosses our state borders, and they
Yeah.
did the same.
Wow.
They went into Mississippi the same way that they did in Tennessee, just bulldozing over people, not listening to them, and yes, he's violating all types of environmental standards and regulation. And of course, this administration is helping him do that, by
Sure.
deregulating a lot of things.
Everything.
So
It's
it's
terrible.
interesting. I'd like to see that video, but yes, that's
Okay, I'll
part of
send
the
it to you.
same. Yeah, that is part of the same facility, because he keeps expanding his facility, the XAI facility, and now he's in this race with Bezos to go to space, and
Right.
um, and also Tennessee again is involved, and we'll be hearing more about this. And I'm digging into it, but they want to expand because people are starting to catch on to the fact of these data centers soaking up so much energy,
Right.
and so
And
now they're
drinking
trying.
water.
So now they're trying to offset it by developing these nuclear energy sources. And so
Wow.
we're
Oh,
right here. They're using Oak Ridge, which we were
uh,
involved in. Yeah. So I'm really concerned about the future of my state with these people.
yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm going to stay here and fight regardless.
Yes.
That's all you can do is fight. I mean, we're all fighting in one way or the other. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I have really enjoyed this conversation with
Me too.
you. And every 2 weeks, it's like we are not at a loss for things to talk about. Myron, I hope you will join us on a regular basis whenever
Yeah,
you
send me an
can.
invite. I'll show up. I usually have time on
Definitely will
Fridays.
do that. And so
Okay.
before we close out, I want to give you an opportunity to tell folks where you can find us, where they can find you and the work that you do, and then Tiff, and then I'll let you guys go and get to your Friday
Yes.
afternoons.
Thanks. So find me on TikTok and Instagram at author Myron J. Clifton. And also I have a digital magazine. It comes out once a month. It's free. It's called Dear D Magazine. You can look me up there, and it's free. And we have great articles from contributors all
Yes.
over the country. And of course, I'm an author, so go to Bookshop or Barnes & Noble online or the dreaded Amazon, and you can find my books and audiobooks there as well.
Yes, great books, by the way. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing them with me, and my granddaughters both love them, and I
Fantastic.
yes, I'm really enjoying them, and I think we're
Thank you.
gonna trying to weave them into kind of a regular kind of
I love
thing
it.
for us. So
Thank
I
you.
love it. All right, Tiff, Candidly Tiff, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on the main one is on X, I guess, is Twitter.
The Hellscape.
Hellscape. That's my, you know what? Same name, Candidly Tiff at TIFY330. You can find me on TikTok, Candidly Tiff, Instagram, Threads, same name. And yeah, I mean, Myron definitely does way more videos than I would do like in a whole week. I love him.
He's prolific, I tell you. I mean, he does the
Put him out.
videos, the writing.
People send me his videos, like people just send me his, like, but they don't even know who, like, that we're friends and stuff.
Right.
It's hilarious.
Cracking up. So
You're like, I'm so sick of that man.
yeah, like, but his videos are so good. Like when I do get to see them on either TikTok or if I'm on Instagram, they'll pop up, and I'm like, and he's just going in. Like yesterday, he did one on Jose's like thing, and I'm like, and I'm cracking up. I'm like, the thing that makes me laugh is that people think that we are coordinated, but the thing
Right.
is, we are naturally
We just
coordinated. Where he'll like the dude responded to Jose. I saw it and waited until the next morning. I wrote something, then that made it go viral again, and then Myron saw it, and then Myron Boozy talked, like everyone started taking it. So you just kind of like, we don't even talk to one another.
When they talk to each other, it's just out there.
We just know this is a natural thing. So
It really is.
beautiful thing. But yeah, that's why they're big fan of us.
Yes, I love it because we kind of understand and we kind of think alike. We have a sense of political, understanding and strategy. And it was something. And Myron does like these funny, cute clips and stuff too. I had to tell you, one of my favorite ones is "This is my filter-free face."
Trolling my wife.
One of these days we're gonna see Myron. He's gonna be like all jacked up, and we're like, you know why?
Boy, Tim, that Puerto Rican in her, she be getting so bad. She's just like, oh God.
Yeah, you're gonna wake up and be like, what the hell just happened to me?
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys, and thank
Thank you, D.
everyone for joining us and participating in the chat. And of course, we're going to be back here again in 2 weeks, and you can find me, the Advocacy Arena, in our regular Monday Good Trouble chat on Spoutable. I love that Boozy has created a space
Nice.
that is kind of chaos free
Nice.
there. So I do my regular Monday Good Trouble chats there. And then on the Friday that I'm not having my Fired Up Friday conversation with Tiff and Myron and other guests that we have sometimes, I have an evening discussions chat
Nice.
on Spoutable, and that is where we do a deep dive really into history to really talk about and uncover and peel back the layers of white supremacy and Christian nationalism in this country. So just trying to give people the language, the knowledge and the language and understanding to be able to have these uncomfortable conversations that we have to have. But people need to know and understand when we say these things, like it's not something we're just pulling out of our butt, like it comes from somewhere. And a lot of us, like my age, it's lived experience.
It's lived experience.
So love that you guys joined us. Thanks for
you.
giving us the love. And we will see you back here in a couple of weeks. You guys take care.
Talk to you later.
All right. Woo-hoo. Hello. You're still live. Okay. Thank you. All right. Just letting you know. All right. Thanks.